Hello, everyone. Good morning to you. Happy Friday to everyone in the house. How are you doing today? And I trust you are doing well and also getting ready for the New York session today. So before we kickstart the session, let's confirm that we are on the same page. That is, you can see my screen clearly and you can hear my voice without distortion by typing hi in the comment section. So I would love to see some feedback, please. So if you can see my screen and you can hear my voice, please just let me know in the comment section just by typing hi. This will help me to confirm that we are good to go, and also if there are any issues so that I can do the appropriate adjustment. So let me know what's going on. I'm loading up the comment section now, and let's see if we have positive feedbacks. Okay, I can see Francisco F56. Okay, 770, thank you very much. 603, good morning to you. 3884, all right. Okay, I see you. Hey Valeric, how are you doing today? 475 349. All right, so this is okay, very good. Nest 57, good morning to you. Glad to have you around too. Nest 57. 650, thank you very much. Okay, so I will take this as a positive feedback that we are good to go this morning. I see your comment 6422. You want us to treat the XAUUSD. All right, no problem. I will try to incorporate it into our schedule for today. So try to stay tuned to the end of the session so that you can so that you don't miss out on the session on the XAUUSD. Okay. So I'll try to remember. I'm penning it down right now. All right. So on this note, I'm so excited to welcome you all to your voice not clear. Okay. Thank you for that confirmation. So let me do some readjustment. Is it that it's too loud, or is it that it's let me see. You want it like this? Do you want it like this? Is it clearer now? Let me know in the comment section. I'll really appreciate that. Thank you, Nest57. Okay, so on this note, I welcome you all to yet another promising session on the X-Trend Speed Live. My name is Sheriff Daramola, and for the next 1 hour, I'm going to be your host, where we shall be evaluating the financial market using technical parameters to identify trading opportunities lying ahead of us. Of course, we are heading into the New York session. And for those who are joining us for the first time, you are highly welcome. And what we simply do here is to gather here as a community in anticipation of the New York session. So we have a handful of financial instruments that we have been monitoring since the beginning of the week. So we want to look at how well these instruments have been doing, and at the same time get ready for the New York session. Look out for more opportunities on this instrument. And considering the fact that today is the last trading day of the week, it is a Friday, there is this peculiarity about this day which I normally emphasize on, if you have always been with me, that there is a tendency that the market might likely incite a reversal pattern. That is, price action moves in the opposite direction of where it has been going since the beginning of the week. And this as a result of a majority of the key players in the market who have been holding a position prior to this day will definitely want to be doing some profit-taking activity, closing their positions ahead of the weekend. And this will always reflect on the chart as price action moving in the opposite direction. So that is one thing we are also going to be taking into consideration while we look at things from a technical standpoint. Then another thing that we also want to take note of is the fact that next week comes with a handful of high impact events, as next week we have the ECB, the Japanese economy, and the US economy making an interest rate decision next week. And as a result of this, I think majority of the key players in the market will be mindful of taking a huge position, buy or sell, whatever the case may be, today, as they want to wait and hold on to see what the rate decision will be on these major economies. So we might likely see some choppy situation go on today as a result of this. We are also going to be taking that into consideration too as well. And for those who are joining us for the first time, you're welcome. And please note that with time, you get to understand how this works. And since this is your first time with us, you might find it a little bit overwhelming. But trust me, with time, you get to understand how this works. And you will be able to use the information you gather here to make your independent decision on your account. So we do this on a daily basis, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time. So with that being said here, let's dive right into the business for today. You know how we do it. We normally check the economic calendar first of all before we dive into the chart, but I'd already checked it and there are no high impact events to look out for on any of the instruments that we are monitoring today. So we'll just dive right into the business of today. So as usual, the first commodity we are going to be taking this morning is going to be the US oil spot. And on the US oil spot, we had quite an interesting trading opportunity in the last 24 hours here, as we had a huge sell position in the last 24 hours. So let's quickly run through how the week started for us on the US oil spot, after which we are going to be talking about how today is likely going to be. So at the beginning of the week, let me zoom things in a little bit so that you can see things more clearly. So at the beginning of the week, we had this situation here where price action was initially ranging within the $73.40 level and the $72.20 area to give us an insight into the level of indecision in this market at the beginning of the week. And you know how we do it whenever we have this kind of simple flat channel. We want to wait patiently for price action to give us a signal, which always comes in the form of either a breakout of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy, or the breakdown of the support line to give us an opportunity to sell. And if you recall vividly, we had a buy stop order triggered as soon as price action broke out of that $73.40 level, and price action moved about I think about 50 pips thereabout before we saw this bearish move, and I think it took us out at a loss at the beginning of the week. However, price action continued to drop to the downside, which finally broke down that support line where we already had a sell stop position to trigger our first sell position for the week. And we also maximized the potential of the bearish move by adding more position as soon as price action broke down our key level at the $72 area. So we were able to scoop over, okay, let's say the first position moved about over 230 pips in our favor, and the second position moved over 170 pips in our favor before we were taken out at the appearance of buy pressure in this market. And during the course of the week, we identified a bullish trend line here, which we said we are going to be using to guide our trading activity. So at the site of higher lows here, we were looking out for buying opportunities. So we said here that as long as price action remains above that bullish trend line, we feel comfortable buying the US oil spot, and also look out for more opportunities to buy this commodity. And on Wednesday, I think we had some buy positions, but we saw here that sellers were negating all the bullish attempts around the $73.20 level, giving us a clue that sellers are still strong in this market, taking us out of that buy position. And this led to the first time price action will be breaking down this bullish trend line yesterday, and with a sell stop order below our key level at the $72 area, we had our second sell position for the week triggered, and price action continued to move to the downside. And as you can see here, we saw we caught about over 200, close to 300 pips on that move there. So for those who took advantage of this opportunity, well done to you for being on standby to catch this move, as you would have been able to close with a significant amount of profit. And I do hope you moved your stop losses accordingly, as you all know how we do it here. Whenever price action moves significantly well in our favor, we definitely want to be moving our stop losses to secure the position. And if you had done that, you would have been taken out with a significant amount of profit. So as we have done this right now, what is our plans for the New York session today? What are we looking out for to be part of any trading opportunity today? Well, after looking at how price action has been playing out here in the last 18 hours or so, I was able to identify a simple setup that we are going to be using to guide our trading activity. And this is identified on a much more lower time frame. But before we go into the lower time frame, I want to emphasize some key levels here as regards to this current structure. And considering the impulsive move that started yesterday that crashed into the $69.20 area, and we saw this bullish candles move into the what's that area, $71.60 area, and we saw our price has been caught within a range here. Now, one thing about this bullish move here, I think, is that price might likely be going through a retracement phase where it will probably come into the $72 area, which is our key level, the $72.50 level, or even the trend line here, which was broken yesterday before another wave of bearish momentum will happen. So we want to keep this in mind while we review this current market structure, that this might likely be a retracement into key levels where we are going to be looking out for reversal patterns to join a trend continuation to the downside. So scaling down into a much more lower time frame, let's say the 15 minutes time frame here, I was able to identify a simple setup that we are going to be using for today's trading session. And here we go. So this is the 15 minutes time frame. So I will zoom this out a little bit so that we can all see things clearly here. So now, following this retracement move, we have seen how price action has been trapped within a range between the $71.50 level and the $70.70 area to give us an insight into the level of indecision in this market. And even within this range here, I was able to identify a trend line which was broken earlier today to the upside, giving us a clue that buyers might likely be gaining some momentum within this range. And as a result of this momentum that led to the breakout of the structure, I was able to identify a temporary trend line which we are going to be using to guide our trading activity for today. So what this simply means is that as long as price action remains above this temporary bullish trend line, we shall look out for buying opportunities which might likely culminate at the key levels I made mention of on the 1 hour time frame to incite the trend continuation to the downside. So if price remains above this level, we look out for buying opportunities, look out for more opportunities to buy above the structure, break out of the $72 level, welcomes more opportunity, and we rather move all the way to the upside. So that is how we are going to be buying the US All Spot for today. However, if price action breaks down this trend line, you know how we do it here. We don't hold on to a bias. We want to ensure that we remain as dynamic as possible. The market is not rigid. It's very, very fluid. And for us to be very profitable, we want to be as fluid as possible so that we can catch any potential opportunity the market presents. So in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunities above the trend line and above the key level, at the $71.50 level, we cannot ignore the potentials of the sellers in this market. And considering the strong impulsive move yesterday, we saw the strong impulsive move to the downside, we might likely be getting ready for another wave of bearish momentum to the downside from this current structure. And to be able to anticipate that, how do we intend to position ourselves ahead of the New York session for any selling opportunity? In fact, what do we want to see on this chart that will make us change our bias from bullish to bearish? Well, like I said earlier, we have a trend line. So we want to see a breakdown of this trend line happen before we start considering selling the US All Spot. But remember, we are not going to get too excited if price action breaks down the trend line, as we'll still need some confirmation to happen before joining. So as soon as price action breaks down this trend line anytime, if it does, we scale down to our lower time frame. We could go to the 5, 10, 15 minutes time frame, whichever case it may be. Look out for structures that will confirm that sellers are gradually gaining momentum. And this will always reflect on the chart as price action retesting either the trend line that was broken or the $71.50 level, where the continued selling pressure below the structure. All we just want to see is signs that buyers are finding it difficult to climb back above the trend line. Then after that, we want to be selling the US Oil Spot. All this will be happening on a much more lower time frame. Then we could have a sell stop order below the $70.77 area to maximize the potential of this bearish move. And we also have structures around the $70.20 level that will be welcoming more opportunities to sell in this market. So you can see it's a simple setup we have here. So the major level that will be guiding us today is going to be this trend line. So if price remains above the trend line, we look out for buying opportunities in this market. But if price action drops below the trend line, then we start considering selling the US Oil Spot. So that is my view here on the US Oil Spot today. So I hope that we'll be on standby to catch any of these opportunities. And if you do have any questions you want to ask me, or you need further clarifications, or you need me to shed more light in any aspect of what I've discussed so far, feel free to let me know in the comment section, and trust me, I am here and willing to be of help. So I will be checking the comment section from time to time while I move on to the next option. So I want to make sure that we cover as much as possible before the end of the session so that I can take on the silver that I promised. Who was that again? Who was that was asking for silver earlier? Let me see. Okay, I think is okay, 6422. All right. So let's move on to the next option. So the next option we are going to be looking at this morning is the USTech100. And on the USTech100, we also had an interesting position here yesterday, which actually gave us a significant amount of profit. So we are going to be going into that in a moment, but let's run through how the week started for us on the USTech100, what led into the ideas of buying or selling the USTech100 this week. So the first thing we observed at the beginning of the week was this flat channel where price action was initially ranging within the $14,550 level and the $14,490, I think. Let me extend this out a little bit. Okay, $14,485 level. And you know how we do it whenever we have this kind of simple flat channel. We want to wait patiently for structures to mature, giving us a signal in the form of either a breakdown of the support line for an opportunity to sell, or the breakdown of the resistance line for an opportunity to buy. And with our buy stop orders sitting above the 14,550 level on Monday, we had our first buy position for the week triggered, and we also had the privilege of maximizing the potential of this move by adding more position had the breakout of the 14,600. So on the first position, we saw our price move over 100 pips in our favor, and the second position, we saw our price action move about 70 pips in our favor before this whole selling pressure began. So as at the first day of the week, we were already profitable on the USTech100 as we were taking out with some significant amount of profit. Then following this impulsive move we witnessed on Monday, we begin to see a choppy situation go on. I think this lasted about 36 to 48 hours. We saw our price action kept on ranging between the 14,600 zone and the 14,580 area to give us an insight into the level of indecision in this market. And what we agreed here on Wednesday was that we are going to be selling if price action breaks down this key level here. So we had a sell stop order, which also gave us the privilege and opportunity to maximize a selling opportunity here. So we had a 260 pips move before this whole buy pressure began around this level. So at this point during our live session yesterday, this was our critical zone as we saw this old choppy situation go on here, and we identified this area as our center of focus ahead of the New York session yesterday. And one thing I said here yesterday is that considering the buy pressure we noticed here as at yesterday's morning, we are going to be looking out for buying opportunities at the breakout of this neckline of this potential reversal pattern as at yesterday. And with a buy stop order sitting above the $14,315 level, we had another buy position triggered, and as you can see, we saw our price action has been moving. And if you're still having your buy position running right now, you will currently be running with about 180 pips in profit. So congrats to everyone who has been part of this profitable journey, as if you still have a position running right now, the next thing you want to be doing is to move all stop losses to secure this current buy position. And from the look of things here, the most appropriate area or zone that I think we could move all stop losses to is that area between the $14,440 level and the $14,400, because we want to give room for price action to breathe, and there is a high chance that price action is likely going to be continuing to the upside. So now that we have secured our position, please ensure you have done that. How are we going to be planning for the New York session today? What are our plans? How do we intend to trade this? Are we going to continue buying the USTech100, or are we going to be getting ready to sell? Well, before we go into the details of what our plans will look like, I would love to have an holistic view of what is really going on in this market, and to do that, we want to be scaling up into a higher time frame. So on the higher time frame, on the 4 hours time frame to be specific, this was what we were able to spot on this market on this 4 hours time frame at the beginning of the week. So after connecting the series of higher highs and higher lows in this market, we saw how price action transitioned into a simple ascending channel that you can see on your screen right now. And this further emphasized the level of buying power in this market as price action continued to find higher lows in this market, which is a clear sign that buyers are very, very strong at this point. And at the beginning of the week, we saw our price action retested this resistant line of the ascending channel to bring price back into the support line of the ascending channel, giving us a bullish candle, engulfing candle to the upside. And at this point, there is a high chance that we want to be looking out for buying opportunity in this market, and in such a way that price might likely still continue into the resistant line of this ascending channel. So I would like to extend this line a little further so that it can capture our future expectations in this market. Now, in addition to all this, we had a key level which was identified at the 14,500 area. Now, this key level was supposed to be our yardstick to guide trading activity this week, as we already agreed here that if price action drops below the key level, we look out for selling opportunities, and if price action climbs above the key level, we look out for buying opportunities. Now, if you look at what has happened here in the last 48 hours, we saw this impulsive move to the downside, bringing price into that 14,250, a level which has a strong memory for buying power. As you can see, every attempt by the sellers to break down the structure has been met with strong resistance from the buyers. And the same thing also happened a couple of days ago. We saw rejection around that area. Now, following this impulsive move to the downside, this all bullish engulfing candle we saw in the last 24 hours is likely going to turn out to be a retracement of that impulse leg. And as you can see, as price action came back into the structure that was broken yesterday, we have begun to see some selling pressure resume around that area. Now, the question here is, will this sell pressure hold in such a way that it would incite the second wave of this bearish momentum, or are we going to see a situation where this key level will be broken to the upside to incite another trend continuation upward? So these are the things we are going to be looking at, and you would agree with me at this juncture that we are at a critical point in the market where whatever happens around the 14,500 level will be determining what our next line of action will be. So as a result of this information we have gathered here, it is very important that we scale down to a much more lower time frame where we want to see how price action will be reacting to this level to determine what our next line of action will be. So we shall be going back into the 1 hour time frame to see how price action is reacting to the 14,500, and let's see if we can identify a structure that we can use to guide our trading activity for today. So for those who are still in the buy position, I hope you've moved your stop losses to secure your position, and let's see how things goes from here. So the next thing I will do here is to bring out my line chart, and one thing I noticed here, since yesterday's New York session, we saw a higher lows here. So I want to connect a series of higher lows, and we are going to be using this as a yardstick to guide our trading activity for today. So I would like to remove this one. Hold on a second. Okay. So we have this trend line, which I will be calling a temporary trend line in the meantime. And then we have our key level at the 14,500. So let me bring this out. We don't need this one here. So we are going to be focusing on our key level. So this is our key level here, 14,500, right? And here we go. Let's bring back our candle chart. So now we have a bullish trend line, which we are going to be using to guide our trading activity. So I will thicken this a little bit to emphasize the level of its importance around this juncture. So what this simply means here is that if price action continues to trade above this trend line and the 14,500 level, which happens to be our key level for the week, we continue to look out for buying opportunity in this market. So to buy here now, if you're already in the buy position, you move your stop loss. We've told you that. Then if you are not yet in the buy position, and or for those who are already in the buy position, you want to maximize this potential move, then we want to see price breakout of the 14,500. Breakout first of all happen, scale down into the lower time frame, find a retest of structure, signs the sellers are finding it difficult to break down the trend line. At this point, we want to be adding more buy position to our existing trade while we look out for more opportunities to buy the USTech100 if price action goes on to breakout of the 14,500. And remember, this current buy structure has a tendency of giving us multiple entries as we have important levels to look out for more opportunities to maximize the potential move here. So these are my views here as regards buying the USTech100. Then another thing I would like to emphasize here is that if we look at the structure from an holistic point of view, that is looking at how price action started the week, we have seen lower highs in this market. And if we connect the series of lower highs here, we have a bearish trend line. So this trend line here would also be a major factor for today. So if we are buying above this area, I told you that we are not having a buy stop order above the 14,500 as we want to see a breakout first of all. Scale down to your lower time frame to see retest where buy pressure resumes, where a further breakout of this bearish trend line I just identified here will confirm that buyers are still very strong in the market and the chances that price will continue to the upside becomes higher. However, if price action does not do that instead and continue to find lower lows, how do we intend to sell the USTech100? So since we already have a trend line here, which we said we are going to be using to guide our trading activity for today, a breakdown of this trend line has a high chance of inciting a sell-off and a trend continuation to the downside. So if we are going to be selling here, I want to see price action break down this trend line, retest of structure to incite another wave to the downside. And to capture this, to make things a little bit more easy for us to maximize the potential of the bearish momentum, there is a key level here at the 14,460 area, which I want to label. And in fact, I would like to use a different color to differentiate it from the previous structures we have here. So I would rather give it a purple color, I think. So we have a purple color for that one. So we have a level at the 14,460, which also shares a confluence with this trend line that we have here. So if price action breaks down this trend line at the 14,460, then we want to start considering selling to join the trend continuation to the downside. So let's keep this in mind. Mark this out on your chart and let's be on standby to catch these opportunities. Now, there is one thing I just remembered here which I didn't mention, that is when we are buying above the 14,500, retest of structure and price continues to the upside, as soon as price action gets into that trend line, we want to move all stop losses to our entry point to secure all buy positions. And the reason is simply because of this trend line here, as we will need to see how price action will react to this trend line to determine if we are going to be adding more buy position or getting ready to sell. So please note that in mind while the breakout of the 14,500 ever happens. So that is how we are going to be trading the USTech100 for today. I hope you screenshot my screen so that you can use it as a reference point to guide trading activities today, or you could mark out these levels on your chart, and as it will help you know what to look out for during the New York session. So if you have any questions whatsoever regarding what I've just explained so far, feel free to let me know in the comment section, and trust me, I am here and willing to be of help. So I will be moving on to the next instrument for today, and I will continue to check the comment section to see if there are any questions for me. So the next instrument we are going to be looking at today is the GBPUSD. And on the GBPUSD, we also had a very profitable week on this commodity, on this instrument. And in the last 24 hours, we were able to maximize a very strong bullish momentum, giving us about 3 positions on that one. So we shall be talking about that in a moment. So the first thing that happened this week was we had initially we were selling the GBPUSD after identifying this flat channel between the 1.24590 and the 1.24250 to give us a structure to work with at the beginning of the week. And prior to our live session on Monday, we had a breakdown of the support line here, giving us a bearish signal. And remember, whenever we have a breakdown of structure, we expect price might likely come back to retest that level to give us an opportunity to join. And in fact, we did join. We had some couple of profits there. We had this one move about 45 pips in our favor, and this one moved about 30 pips in our favor before we were taking out of those positions. And you know that we normally move our stop losses to secure any position whenever price moves significantly well. And during our live session on Wednesday, we acknowledged the fact that price action since the beginning of the week has been finding higher lows, which is a clear sign that buyers are gradually gaining momentum. And as a result of finding these higher lows here, we all agreed that we are going to be looking out for buying opportunity if price action breaks out of this key level we identified at the beginning of the week, which is situated along the 1.2440 level. And with a breakout of the structure on Wednesday, we had a buy position. And in fact, the market came back to retest the structure to give us the privilege and opportunity to join that move if we had missed out on the first one. So during our live session yesterday, we acknowledged this one, and we looked out for more opportunities to add more position if price action breaks out of the 1.25. And you can see we were able to maximize the bullish move here, and we rode the move all the way to the upside. And for those who took advantage of this opportunity, well done to you for being on standby to catch this move. And in fact, if you still have a buy position move running right now, well, the next thing you want to be doing is to move all stop losses to secure this current position. So move all stop losses anywhere below the 1.25530 area and the 1.2520 level seems most appropriate to secure all buy positions at this point. Now that we are going into the New York session today, what is going to be our plans on this instrument? Are we buying or are we selling the GBPUSD today? Well, if you look at the structure here, you would have noticed that since Wednesday, the second half of this week, price action had consistently respected this bullish trend line. As you can see, we've been finding higher lows here, and we have been using this trend line in the last 48 hours to guide our bullish momentum. And what this simply means is that as long as price action remains above this trend line, we want to feel comfortable in our buy position while we also look out for more opportunities to buy. And besides, this trend line is a very interesting flat channel we were able to identify here. So following the impulsive move we saw here yesterday, we saw that as soon as price action got into the 1.25690 level, we saw how selling pressure resumed around that area to give us a sign that sellers are present there. And in fact, this sell pressure resulted into this choppy situation where we saw our price action kept ranging between the 1.25690 and the 1.25400 level to emphasize the level of indecision in this market. And you know how we do it whenever we have this kind of flat channel. We want to wait patiently for structures to mature to give us an opportunity to either buy or sell. And you know, whenever we have this kind of flat channel, it has a tendency of inciting a trend continuation to the upside if price action transitions into a bullish rectangular pattern, where the breakout of the 1.25690 level will be welcoming an opportunity to buy, while the breakdown of the 1.2540 area will welcome probably a retracement of that impulsive move in anticipation of another wave of bullish momentum. So as a result of this technical expectation in this market, I will not be advising that you have a sell stop order or sell below the 1.25400 area, and the reason is simply because of the fact that price action has been bullish since the beginning of the week, and it makes quite a whole lot of sense to continue to look out for opportunities to join a trend continuation to the upside. But if you are a scalper, a short-term trader, or a counter-trend trader, you might want to take advantage of that move only if price action breaks down, retest the structure on our lower time frame. And if this happens, you might want to take advantage of that move, have a TP target around the 1.2500 level, which also shares a confluence with this bullish trend line. And that might likely that will dovetail into about 30 to 35 pips to 40 pips thereabouts on that one. But for me, I would instead wait for, even if a breakdown of the 1.25400 happens, I will instead wait for price action to come into the trend line, after which I want to see how price action will be responding to that trend line to determine if I am going to be selling or buying at this point. So if a reversal pattern unfolds on above this trend line or above the 1.250 level, then I want to be looking out for buying opportunity. That means price respects the trend line one more time to join a trend continuation. But if price action breaks down the trend line, then at this point, I want to start considering selling. But I want to see some confirmation like retest of structure, selling pressure on my lower time frame to give me that opportunity to sell. So for me here, I would rather wait for the breakdown of this bullish trend line for an opportunity to sell the GBPUSD. So that is one perspective to trading the GBPUSD today, and this is about the breakdown of the 1.2540 level. Now, in as much as we also taken into consideration the breakdown of the 1.254, we cannot ignore the potential that buyers could incite a massive move to the upside, which could break out of the resistant line, the new resistant line here, which happens to be the highest point price action has ever been for this week. So if a breakout of this level happens, I want to be part of a bullish move. So normally we should wait for price action to break out, retest the structure to give us confirmation before joining. But since we are already profitable on the GBPUSD so far this week, we can leverage on the profit we had made to test waters around that area. So as a result of this, I'm going to be having a buy stop order sitting above the 1.25690 level to take advantage of a bullish move, while we have a stop loss sitting close above the key level, above this 1.254, giving us about 20 to 25 pip stop loss on this one. And let's see how far this bullish momentum is going to go. So that is how we are going to be trading the GBPUSD today. So I implore that you mark this out on your chart, screenshot my screen if you want to, so that you can use it as a reference point when you're about to make your independent decision. And please, for those who still have a buy position running on the GBPUSD, ensure you move all your stop losses to secure the current buy position. So that is that on the GBPUSD. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So we are going to be moving on to the next instrument, which is the XAUUSD. And on the XAUUSD, we also had a very massive profit too in the last 24 hours. And in fact, since the beginning of the week, we have been quite profitable. Though we had I think we had a stop loss at one point. We are going to be talking about that in a moment. So how did the week started for us on the XAUUSD? Well, we had a channel at first where price action was ranging within before we noticed this double bottom structure along the 1940 area. And remember, the 1940 level was a very, very strong demand zone at the beginning of the week. Let me show you that quickly. So we identified that zone on the 4 hours time frame. So this was our 4 hours time frame at the beginning of the week, where we acknowledged that the 1940 has a high tendency of pushing buy pressure in this market, as we could see that this level had a strong memory for buying power. So it makes a whole lot of sense that whenever we start seeing buying pressure above that level, we want to be buying the XAUUSD. And not only if a breakdown of the structure happens, can we consider selling this commodity, which actually never happened during the course of the week. So we have been more of buying the XAUUSD this week. So let's go back into the 1 hour time frame. So this was what we saw on the 1 hour time frame, where we acknowledged this reversal pattern during our live session on Monday. We saw this double bottom structure. We had the neckline situated at the $1,944.20 level, and with a buy stop order above that structure, we had our first buy position for the week triggered. And in fact, we were privileged to maximize the potential of this bullish move, as we had the opportunity of adding more position, placing buy stop order above the 1,950 and also the 1,955 to maximize this move to the upside. And in fact, we were able to scoop over 300 pips on those 3 positions at that point. So at the beginning of the week, we were quite profitable on the XAUUSD. And in fact, we saw after the price came into that 1,966 level, we saw our price action transitioned into a choppy situation. So we had a consolidation phase which lasted about 48 hours in this market, where price action was ranging within the 1,966 and the 1,955. So at this point on Wednesday, we said here that we are going to be either buying or selling if price action breaks out or break down this range. And with a buy stop order above the 1,966 and the sell stop order below the 1,955, we initially had a buy stop order triggered on Monday, where price moved about, how many pips was that? About 38 to 40 pips before the bearish move came in. And if you are smart enough to move your stop loss to secure the buy position, you would have been taken out at a worst case scenario at break even. But personally, I was not on screen, so I was taken out in a loss on that one, and price action continued to tumble to the downside, triggering our sell stop order below the 1,955, and we were privileged to have about 160 pips move before this bullish momentum began. And if you recall, yesterday we also anticipated a bullish momentum after identifying a simple setup on our 30 minutes time frame. Let me show you quickly. So on the 30 minutes time frame, we acknowledge the potentials of buyers too in this market. So this was what we saw during the live session yesterday. We saw our price action was ranging within the 1,948 and the 1,940, as you can see here, after the bearish impulse leg happened. And as a result of this, we saw something that looks like a reversal pattern, where we saw as soon as price action tested this lowest point here at the 1,940, remember that very strong demand zone, we saw price climb up, find higher lows, giving us something that looks more like a double bottom structure. And you know how we do it. Whenever we have a potential double bottom structure, we want to have a neckline which coincidentally shares a confluence with the resistant line of the channel we identified earlier. So as a result of this one, we had a buy stop order above the 1,948, which we agreed here yesterday. And as you can see, we saw our price action was triggered at the breakout of that structure, and in fact moved over 220 pips in our favor. So it was quite a profitable trade for us on the XAUUSD yesterday, and for those who took advantage of this opportunity, well done and kudos to you for being on standby to catch this move. And for those who still have a buy position running, that is for those who did not close their position and instead remain positive that price action is likely going to continue to the upside, well, I think it is high time you want to be moving our stop losses to secure the current position. And the most appropriate area is anywhere below the $1,960.50 level here, so that we can give room for price action to breathe, with the hopes that price action still has a tendency of finding higher highs in this market. So with a buy position secured right now, how do we intend to take advantage of a trading opportunity during the New York session today? Well, the first thing we are going to acknowledge here is that price action has been bullish in the last 48 hours. And to emphasize that, we have a trend line which we marked out yesterday, which also guided our bullish momentum. And as you can see, after connecting the series of higher lows, we have a beautiful bullish trend line to guide our move. Now at this point, you know how we do it whenever we have trend lines. We want to ensure that as long as price remains above this trend line, we feel comfortable in our buy position while we look out for more opportunities to buy. However, with the situation of things here since yesterday, we can see that price action has been a little bit choppy after testing the 1,970. The same thing also happened here on Wednesday when price got into the structure. We saw selling pressure pushing price to the downside, and yesterday again we saw what happened here. Selling pressure again resumed here, leading into the choppy situation we are witnessing here in the last 24 hours, giving us an insight into the level of indecision in this market. So with the situation we have here, it is very, very important that we remain patient. We exercise some level of patience around here, waiting for structures to mature for us to be part of any opportunity to buy or sell at this point. Now, for us to buy the XAUUSD, talking about the potential of the buyers here, I already identified a simple setup that we can use to guide that move. And one thing you will see within this old channel that you see here between the 1,970 and the 1,960 is that price action has been finding lower highs, which is a sign that sellers are trying to push price to the downside, which might likely be a retracement move in anticipation of another wave of bullish momentum. But I was able to acknowledge the lower highs here by connecting the series of lower highs. We have a trend line to work with for today. So if price remains below the trend line, definitely we want to see this as a sign that we might be seeing a retracement of the impulse leg that we saw yesterday. But if price action breaks out of this trend line, then at this point I want to start considering buying the XAUUSD. So a breakout of this trend line would also break out of that key level at the 1,965, where a retest of structure will give me a confirmation to buy the XAUUSD, and having a buy stop order above the 1,970 will help us to maximize the potential if price action breaks out of that level. So that is how we are going to be buying the XAUUSD today in terms of a trend continuation if price action breaks out of that trend line from this current structure. So let's keep this in mind, mark this out on our chart, and let's be on standby to catch this opportunity. However, if price action continues to drop to the downside and breaks down this level at the 1,960, I'm of the opinion that this might likely be a retracement move to the downside. And one thing here is that I wouldn't be thinking of selling at this point, sincerely speaking. And the reason why I'm not going to be selling is simply because of the bust up we have here on the bullish trend line that we identified earlier. So there is a chance that price could come back into this trend line, respect the trend line one more time to incite another wave of bullish momentum. So as a result of this expectation, I wouldn't be thinking of selling at that point. But if you are a scalper, a counter trend trader, a short-term trader, you might want to take advantage of that opportunity. So it's a very good sign to join if you are, remember, if you are a scalper or a counter trend trader, a breakdown retest on your lower time frame, like a 5 minutes, 10 minutes time frame, could give us an opportunity to sell. And if that happens, you want to ensure that you keep tabs with price movement. As soon as price gets into the trend line, that's about 50 pips thereabout, we want to move our stop losses to secure the sell positions while we wait out and see how price action reacts to that trend line. So if this so happens that buy pressure resumes above the trend line, then I'm of the opinion that we begin to get ready for the second wave of the bullish momentum that started yesterday. And if price action breaks down the trend line to the downside, we are going to be looking out for opportunities to sell. So this is how we are going to be looking at the XAUUSD for today. So I hope that we be on standby. Mark these levels out on your chart. So we have a critical zone we are right now where our center of focus is going to be between the 1,965 and the 1,960, where depending on how price action reacts to this level, we will determine if we are going to be buying or selling this commodity today. So let's be on standby to catch any of this opportunity. If you do have any questions whatsoever regarding what I just mentioned, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So that is that on the XAUUSD. Mark out this level, screenshot my screen if you want to, and let's see how this plays out in the next couple of hours. So to close for today, I want to Okay, I think we also treated EURUSD. So let's run through the EURUSD. That was supposed to be our last pair for today, but since we have someone asking us to do the XAUUSD, so we'll be treating that one last. So this is the EURUSD, another profitable position on the EURUSD for us yesterday. And let's look at how the week started for us on the EURUSD. And one thing that was peculiar with this current market structure was the 1.06750 area, which was serving as a very strong demand zone for this week. And we saw here how sellers tried to break down the structure. As you can see, we saw the first attempt here on Monday, but it was negated. We saw it happen here again on Tuesday. It was negated too as well. And we saw it happen here on Wednesday too as well, and it was negated. And during our live session yesterday, with this information we had here, we said we are going to be looking out for buying opportunity. And in fact, prior to the live session yesterday, we have been buying. And to help guide our trading activity, we identified this trend line where we agreed that as long as price action remains above this trend line, we shall feel comfortable buying the EURUSD. And we also had key structures. We had levels like the 1.07250. We also have the 1.07400 area as levels where we said that we are going to be adding more position if price action continues like that to the upside. So for those who are taking advantage of these opportunities, well done to you for being on standby to catch these moves. So now that we are going into the New York session today, what is going to be our plans? How do we intend to take advantage of a trading opportunity today? Well, if you look at this current market structure, well, the first thing I would like us to do here is to acknowledge that as soon as price action got into this level, had the 1.07850, let me put it at 1.07870, I guess. 1.0, let's label this level for the sake of clarity. So 1.07870 level. So I place that at the top right hand side of our screen. Beautiful. So we can see here that as soon as price action got into the zone, we begin to see sell pressure resume around that area. And I'm of the opinion that this might likely be a retracement of the impulsive move that started here yesterday. So if this continues like this, I want to see this as a retracement. So I will be waiting at the bus stop here along the trend line to wait and see how price action will be reacting to this trend line to determine what our next line of action will be. So if it gets into the structure and we begin to see buy pressure resume around this area, we will have no other choice than to look out for buying opportunities on our lower time frame to join the trend continuation and maximize the potential of this bullish move by placing a buy stop order above the 1.07870 to add more position to our existing trade. So that is how we are going to be looking forward to buying the EURUSD for today. So let's be on standby to catch any of these opportunities. Now, in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunities, as long as price remains above that bullish trend line, we cannot ignore the potentials of sellers too as well. And considering the fact that today is the last trading day of the week where profit-taking activity is always peculiar with such days, there is a high chance that we could have a strong bearish sell-off where price action breaks down this trend line to the downside. So if we are going to be selling the EURUSD today, what do we want to see on this chart that will give us the idea or incite us to negate the potentials of buyers here? So the first thing I would like to see here to sell is to see price action break down this bullish trend line first of all, and remember that we are not getting too excited at the breakdown of that structure, as we would wait for confirmations to happen, which will always reflect on the chart as a retest of the trend line or the 1.0740 level. But most importantly, we want to see selling pressures, that is signs that buyers are finding it difficult to climb back above the trend line. So if we continue to see selling pressure around this area, then at this point we want to start considering selling the EURUSD. So unless a breakdown of this trend line happens, we are not going to be looking at selling the EURUSD for today. So let's be on standby to catch any of this opportunity. Mark out my mark out these levels on your chart, screenshot my screen so that you can use it as a reference point to guide your trading activity for today. So on this note, that is the last instrument we've been monitoring since the beginning of the week. So I wish that we be on standby to catch any of these opportunities here. So let us take on the XAUUSD, which was introduced to us by what is that your name again? 6422. Are you still around? Let me know in the comment section if you are still around so that I can go ahead and treat the XAUUSD. So you can just say hi in the comment section so that I can confirm that we are good to go here. So I'll give you some 5 seconds. If I can't find you, well, I will just say I will just close the session for today. Okay, because I'm already out of time. $6,422. I'm still expecting your comments. All right, so in the absence of no comment, I want to assume that 644 is not in the house anymore, and he or she has left the chat room. So on this note, I want to call it a day here. So it has been a wonderful moment with you guys since the beginning of the session, since the beginning of the week. It has been a wonderful week here. Though we had some couple of losses, but in total, in net, we were very, very profitable across all the financial instruments that we have been monitoring since the beginning of the week. So we still look forward to more opportunities today. So we have been able to simulate all the potential trading opportunities that are likely going to be happening in the market today. So let's be on standby. Hope we mark these levels on our chart, screenshotted my screen so that you can use them as a reference point to guide your trading activity today. So on this note, I wish you all best of luck today. And for the newcomers in the house, I hope you are able to gain one or two things during the live session today. And trust me, the more time you spend with us, the more you get to understand how this works, and the better you become independent to make your independent decision on your account. So on this note, I wish you best of luck today. I wish you the best during the course of the weekend. A wonderful weekend to you out there. And I look forward to seeing you same time next week, Monday, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time, as we come here again to get prepared for the new week. Next week is a very, very important week. Like I said earlier, we are having the Fed interest rate decision, the ECB interest rate decision, and the Japanese interest rate decision. So it's a week jam-packed with very, very high impact events. So we are going to be looking forward to how to position ourselves ahead of that week. So do have a wonderful day, everyone, and see you at the other side. Do have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye-bye.